This is the second part of a two-part video about Lightroom and Photoshop. If you haven't seen the first part, click here. Last time we looked at why you have Photoshop and Lightroom and not just a single program. This time we're going to look at them side by side and discover how the two programs are not as different as you might imagine. Stick around to the end and I promise you'll never be confused by the two of them again. Last time I explained why Adobe makes two programs for photo editing. Now we'll take a quick but deep dive into Bridge, Adobe Camera Raw, Photoshop and Lightroom to both highlight their similarities and then to talk about how a simple to follow workflow allows you to keep them separate in your mind and never have you asking which one should I be using and more importantly, why. I've explained how Adobe bundled Photoshop, Adobe Camera Raw and Bridge together into one package which neatly matched the steps of the workflow common to most photographers: databasing, raw editing and post-raw editing. Back in the days when you bought rather than subscribed to software, that would set you back around $600 annually, which prompted Adobe to release Lightroom, which had the core parts of each of these programs tailored specifically for photographers at a much lower price. Let's look at each step of the workflow individually and compare the programs used in each step. Let's start with Adobe's Library module. Once you've imported your image into Lightroom's catalogue, its name for a database, your screen looks similar to this. Lightroom is made up of 5 modules that you can see tabbed up in the right-hand corner of the screen. It is the Library and Develop modules that concern us, as they are the direct counterparts to Bridge and Adobe Camera Raw in the Photoshop bundle. If we put them side by side, you can see they are remarkably similar. If we look at the left panel of each program side by side, you can see they contain the same elements: folders, collections, star ratings, color labeling, etc. Likewise, if we look on the right-hand side, you can see that metadata and keywording is there for both programs. The biggest difference is that Lightroom only sees images, whereas Bridge sees all file types. Let me give you an example. Look at this folder on my hard drive. It has 11 files of various types: Word, PowerPoint, Excel, but only 2 images, one Photoshop and one PNG image. In Bridge, you can see all of the files, but if we look at the same folder in Lightroom, only the image files show up, because Lightroom is geared to see images only, exactly what you want from a photography database. The next step in our workflow is raw editing. This is the Develop module in Lightroom with all the tools you would use to edit your image here on the right and all the presets on the left. Let's look at the editing tools on the right compared to those in Adobe Camera Raw. As you can see, all the panels that are in the Develop module are present in Adobe Camera Raw. The interface is different, but they use the same engine. For a lot of photographers, the only editing tool they use is Lightroom because it is an immensely powerful piece of software that fulfills all their needs. But if that's the case, then why bother with post-raw editing? To be clear, in Lightroom and Photoshop, the concepts of editing are the same. Colour is colour, whatever tools are used to manipulate it, for example. But it cannot be denied that Photoshop has a greater variety of tools than Lightroom. Add to this the increased variety of ways that you can combine elements, and it is virtually limitless in its editing capabilities. My personal viewpoint is that Lightroom is a brilliant workhorse of a tool with too many strengths to list here. For the bulk of your images, it really is all you'll ever need. Photoshop, on the other hand, is a tool whose structure is designed to encourage experimentation and creativity. The ability to blend and mix its extensive tool set and edit in any way you want is why it has been the #1 editing software for so long. The real misconception about Photoshop is that it is somehow more difficult to use than Lightroom. It is not. It simply works differently and, some would argue, more intuitively. I love both programs, but Photoshop is the king for a reason, and once you understand how it works, the creative opportunities it opens up for your photography are incredibly exciting.
Oh, lovely.
I promised you that if you stay to the end, you'd never be confused by the when to use Lightroom and when to use Photoshop argument again. And I hope this has helped clear up a lot of the confusion for you. The fact that Adobe provides all these powerful tools for the price of a cup of tea and a cake each month is, to my mind at least, tremendous value. It certainly beats paying $600 a year for Photoshop alone. Having all these tools allows you to work how you want, no matter when or where you started your editing journey. Understanding the overlap between the programs is the greatest aid to clarity, as is a simple workflow for all your photo editing. If you still have questions, please just ask them in the comments section below. If you've got this far, please like this video, it will help me out. Subscribe to see more and ring the bell to be notified as soon as a new video is released. Visit my website for blogs, info and to see my photos, because once again, if you're going to take photographic advice from anyone, make sure they take good photos. No stupid sign-offs on this channel. See you next time.